Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back once again to Fat Cat Collections. And the topic of today's video is best watch value for money. So I wanted to do this video because when you start searching on YouTube for ideas on maybe a watch you might want to buy, you're going to get a lot of guys reviewing a lot of different products and watches and all kinds of stuff, right? And so the problem is with YouTube is that, and you guys know I love YouTube, but the problem is that unless you're specifically looking for something, you don't always get the results that might be beneficial to you, right? If you're looking for a watch and you search best watch value for money, you're going to get a lot of guys who are in cahoots with a lot of different brands who are shills, and I don't mean that to sound like some negative thing, you know what I mean? Ultimately, everybody's here to make money. YouTube is not something that guys just create a channel and say, yep, I'm doing it for free. You hope to make YouTube ad revenue. I mean, if you guys don't know that, there's ads that pop up on every video. That's part of the game. And of course, if you do any kind of referrals, a lot of people market a business. There's all kinds of different ways in order to generate revenue. Ultimately, the most important way that you start a YouTube channel is just pick something that you really like. And so, you know, for me, I absolutely love watches. So it's very easy for me to talk about watches and share these different products with you guys. Unfortunately, when I started this channel, I never imagined that there'd be as many watch snobs in this community. It's unbelievable. I mean, I've never seen it really with anything people collect or are into, right? Now, I know like I said, there are different hobbies out there, and you're going to get nasty people across the board no matter what you choose, right? So it's just something you got to deal with. But my issue when it comes to YouTube is a lot of guys who may turn around and say, hey, you know what, I'm thinking about getting an Invicta watch, right? Or an affordable watch, right? I don't know, or a watch they have a certain dollar value in their mind. And they may go into the mall, you know, when we could do that, and look at different brands, and they may go to eBay or go to Amazon and try to look at different reviews. The problem is a lot of times you just don't know what to believe. You get guys who will turn around and say a lot of dishonest things. Now again, you might be saying, well, how do we know you're telling the truth? What I can encourage you to do is if you found this video, and you found this video because you are in the market for a watch and you're looking to get some kind of ideas, I'd encourage you to look at my different videos, look at my playlist, and check out all the thousands of comments from people who have had the different brand watches that I review and share, watches in my collection, and make the best educated guess. Remember, a lot of guys will try to refer people to Better Business Bureau, to Amazon reviews, and those are all important things to look at. It's information, and the more information you have to make an educated decision is going to be helpful. But what I can tell you, what I want you to get from this, is that I'm not a guy who collects Rolex watches or really high-end luxury brands, okay? I'm a guy, an average Joe, who likes affordable watches, and I've had my hands on a lot of different watches in my life. Every time when stores are open, I can go and look and check out these different brands. Also, what's important is my watch collection, okay? Now, I don't have 150 Invicta watches. I have 150 or so watches by many different brands, a lot of which are Invicta. I'd probably say 50 or 60. I probably had maybe 20 Aragon watches, and then all these other different brands, Casio, Seiko, yada, yada, yada. You know, I got a whole bunch. Now, I've worked with a lot of different companies. Some of the watches I have are, a lot of the watches are purchased. A lot of the other brands are sponsored. So when you watch a guy like me and you're like, oh, well, you know, a guy may come across and say, oh, he's a shill for Invicta. He's, of course, going to say he sells Invictas. I don't sell Invicta watches. If you come to my channel and find value in anything that I review, and you say, hey, you know what, that was helpful to me, and you click the link, those are affiliate links. So if you click those affiliate links, it doesn't really matter what you buy if you buy it through my links. If you found value in what I'm doing, that's a way you can reward me for my work. If you ultimately find it somewhere else for a better value, ultimately what really matters is that you get a product that makes you happy, no matter where you get it from, okay? So I'm going to keep doing these videos and keep sharing my opinions, and when I give you guys an opinion, it's 100% average guy, average Joe, honest, right? There's no other reason for me to not give you guys 100% authenticity. The reason why, the one watch that I buy the most of with my own hard-earned money, ones that aren't sent to me or sponsored by different brands, and just full disclosure, I've worked with brands like Neymar, Bolin Watchworks, Delta T, Alexander, Visser, Aquadive, the list goes on and on and on, okay? Now, of course, luxury brands like Rolex and Breitling, they're not going to send me a watch because I'm not really their customer. I would never spend that kind of money on a watch. I think there's many other things out there I'd rather spend my money on. The argument also is that there's some insane level of quality. There's a real difference. Now with every watch brand should be taken on a case-by-case basis. Just because a watch costs $1,000, you should not assume that that quality of that watch is better than a $78 watch. It really needs to be looked at individually. Now I can tell you, across the board, when I've looked at watches that I personally own and watches I've had my hands on and felt watches I wouldn't buy, okay? Not about whether I can afford it or not. Now, can I afford a $150,000 watch? No, I'm not balling like that. But could I afford a Rolex if I wanted one? Absolutely. It's not unobtainable. A Rolex is not an unobtainable brand. Neither is an Omega. If you want to go ahead and spend your savings account on that, or you want to go ahead and spend a chunk of your savings account on that, or if you don't have any money and you want to finance it, you can do that. You can finance a Rolex. You can try to, you can purchase that perception people are going to have of you when you're wearing one. Now, ultimately, it doesn't really matter what you buy, as long as you're nice about it, you're respectful, and you understand that there's a lot of markup in watches, all brand watches. Some watches have a little markup. Of course, we can't have no markup, because otherwise, why would you make a watch? Why would anybody make a product? The whole point with any brand is to make money. But here's the thing: there's a frenzy going on with luxury brand watches like a Rolex. Okay, they're selling for more than MSRP. Not all of them, but many of them. Okay. Just because a watch is selling for more than MSRP doesn't mean it's going to continue to do that. Just because something is appreciation doesn't mean it's going to continue to appreciate, and doesn't mean that you're going to make money on it. I have Invicta watches that I've made money on. I just get sick of them and I sell them. They're a rare piece. They're a more rare piece. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you're probably better off if you're looking for a watch that you're like, all right, I want to buy it and just hold on to it and hope to make some money. You're probably better off buying a Rolex. Absolutely. I will never argue that fact, because there is a frenzy around the brand. But it's not a guarantee. Just look all over eBay. You'll see thousands of pre-owned Rolex watches selling for less than the person paid for them in most cases, right? So there's never guarantees, okay? And I personally don't think that a watch is a good investment, okay? Now, I'm not a professional watch investor, so I mean, there's other guys you should probably talk to if you're looking to do that. I'm not your guy, okay? What I can tell you is take what people say on YouTube with a grain of salt, including me. I want you guys to listen to what I have to say and then go ahead and do your research and try to find the best watch that meets your ideas and what's going to make you happy. Now, in my opinion, do you have to spend $1,000, $500 for a great watch? Absolutely not. Is there a difference between a Rolex watch and an Invicta and Aragon and Bulva? Yes, but those differences are so subtle. In my opinion, it's never going to be worth the money. When you watch other guys on YouTube, guys like It's Constipated, The Time Teller, who else? Not Just One More Watch. He's fantastic. You haven't checked him out. But there's many other brands out there, you know, or many other, or when I say brands, many other channels, right? And a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with guys reviewing watches and saying, hey, you know what, I love this brand, I love this watch, it's fantastic, this is what I wear, this is what I like. But a lot of the guys don't do that. They basically review the things that they like, but also at the same time knock other brands and knock other people who are wearing those watches, who like those watches. But then they just paint the picture that they're really doing that because they're trying to help out the consumer. They don't want to see anybody get ripped off. They don't want to see, they try to label in brands like Invicta as doing deceptive marketing, deceptive advertising. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you only get deceived on anything you purchase if you're not a smart consumer, if you're not a smart shopper. Every brand's going to have their own technique, their own sales process for moving product, okay? What's important is that there's no excuse for anybody not to do a quick 3-second search on their cell phones. You know, you go around to restaurants nowadays, people are staring at their phone. Couples sitting there, updating their Facebook, taking pictures of their sandwiches. There's no excuse, okay? And so to make the statement that, oh, Invicta's deceiving people, is incorrect. Now, do I wish that Invicta would word their, I guess, their MSRP price a little different? I wish they would, absolutely. I agree with the fact that they just don't have to do that. These watches sell themselves. If you like Invicta, then you're probably going to have multiple Invictas. I feel like anybody who doesn't like Invicta really only doesn't like the brand because, one, they don't really like a lot of the big giant styles, and that's okay, but they really condemn the company and condemn every watch they make because they just frankly don't like the style. But they can't make it about that. They always have to rationalize, well, it's about quality. It's about what they're doing to consumers. And that's just a load of friggin' bullshit, okay? Just nonsense. The real reason is just they just don't like the brand and they just want to be nasty to other people. That's really what it comes down to. It really wouldn't matter if it was watches or coins or anything else they were collecting, these people would conduct themselves in the same type of behavior. So again, getting back to the title of the video, best watch value for money. Be very careful when you're watching channels talk about how this quality you're going to get with more expensive watches is just untouchable. It's just that you're just not going to get that with a less expensive watch. Now, there are brands out there that are absolutely, in my opinion, a ripoff, completely ripoff, where you will never get your money back if you're worried about that. If you're like, all right, well, I want to buy this watch, won't wear it a few years, but I want to make sure I can still sell it one day. There are brands out there that you'll pay $2,000 for and you will never come close to getting your money back, because those brands are super heavily marked up in the first place. And ultimately, if you pay that for a watch, then you probably did get kind of ripped off. If you pay MSRP on a lot of the Invicta watches, you absolutely got ripped off. I hope that if you're watching this that you never have paid for that. There was a time where that bullshit MSRP might have worked and it was deceptive. But today's not those days. Nowadays we all have phones. People who are in companies like Invicta or whoever the company may be putting MSRP prices like that on their website, they all do it. Bulova, Seiko, every manufacturer has an MSRP, and it's more than you're going to pay in most cases. Rolex is one of the only crazy brands out there that actually people pay more than MSRP. Generally, a rule of thumb is if you pay MSRP, you're getting kind of ripped off. You're paying more than you should. It's a suggested retail price. It's not supposed to be the retail price, okay? So keep that in mind. If you want to get burned on a watch, buy a new Rolex and hope that they keep the bubble, you know, hope the bubble doesn't burst, and hope that the watch keeps appreciating. Hope the model you bought is an investment and then you're going to sell it. But honestly, why are you buying a watch anyway? If you're going to buy a watch strictly to invest and you're probably never going to wear it, you should probably buy that watch, put it in a safe, and hold on to it and see what happens. Most guys don't do that though. Most guys want to wear the watch. Watch collectors, I would think that if you like watches and you collect watches, that it's something you want to wear. You know, what's the point of having it if you're not going to enjoy it and wear it, other than the fact that you're going to try to flip it? And I'm glad that Rolex is making it a little bit difficult for certain people to do that, I've heard, because they know that you have these sleazeballs who basically just want to go in there and flip the watch. And you know what? I get it, you know, I mean, I say I'll never buy a Rolex watch, but if I knew I could get my hands on one tomorrow and flip it for another $3,000 more, I would, you know. There's no reason not to. We all like to make money. But why are you buying a watch? This video is about why are you buying, what is making you want to buy a watch. You obviously came to this video, you came to YouTube searching, what are you looking for? Now, if you're looking for a brand of a watch that's going to get recognition and people are going to automatically have, a lot of people will have a perception of you that you have money, that you've spent a lot of money, that you're some kind of sophisticated guy with this level of taste that nobody else has, then you should buy a Rolex watch. If you want a watch that's extremely just as nice, just as durable, if not better, then you buy an Omega or a Grand Seiko, okay? But all those watches, those brands, you don't have to spend that to get a kick-ass watch. If you want the most accurate watch, and when I say this to people, they're like, what, really? A $10 quartz watch is going to be more accurate than any Rolex ever made, right? So if accuracy is, again, your real concern for a watch, you don't buy a Rolex, you don't buy an automatic watch, you buy a quartz watch. So you have to ask yourself, first and foremost, when you look for a watch, what do I want to obtain? What is the perception you want people to have of you wearing this? I can tell you that it's not just going to be that if you were to buy a Rolex, that people are going to, or any expensive watch brand, that people are just going to automatically be like, oh man, he must have money, or or perceive you as being successful. You're gonna get sized up, okay? And I know for me personally, when I see a guy wearing a Rolex or any, Rolex is kind of the one that stands out because it is the one that less expensive brands get the most hate from, okay? Again, not saying that all Rolex owners are assholes, not at all. I mean, absolutely, we don't want to overgeneralize any group of people, but a lot of these YouTube influencers, a lot of these YouTube watch reviewers are the ones who really like Rolex, who bash on other brands, okay? Remember, first and foremost, when you hear guys like that conduct themselves like that, they're just nasty individuals. That's really what it comes down to. Remember that they're not being 100% honest with you. I'm sitting here again telling you, is there a difference with a Rolex compared to an Invicta? Yes. Is there a difference between a $10,000 watch and a $100 watch? Yes. But those differences, again, we don't want to overgeneralize either, because there are watches that you'll pick up that are under $100 compared to a Rolex, and the Rolex will make it feel like a piece of shit. But your pro diver And your reserve level Invictas are not those watches. Your Aragon watches, most of them, are not those watches. Bulova, Citizen, Seiko, you're not going to grab the Rolex and compare it to these watches and say, oh my God, man, I can't believe this. This isn't on the same level. But then these guys will also claim that Seiko will do that to an Invicta as well. So this is dishonest. There is no, the machining quality that you're getting with Invicta is on par with watches that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And I just don't mean Invicta. Aragon's the same way. Bulova's the same way. Now there are Bulovas, and when I say Bulova, I mean the Precisionist. Not everything that says Bulova, not everything that says Invicta, not everything that says Aragon is going to be this amazing quality. It's not going to be across the board. You have to be selective which ones you choose. I know there's Aragon watches that I've seen that a coworker got that's like their entry-level Angel watch. I wouldn't recommend. It's a really cheap watch. It's cheaply made. It feels light. It was inexpensive, but for the same amount of money, you could get a Pro Diver if you don't mind. It's a little bit bigger. One of my ex-girlfriends, I got her a Pro Diver. She didn't mind the larger watch. It's a fantastic quality watch. She probably doesn't even wear it. She give it back to me. I'll wear it. But, you know, the point is that you just have to be careful with what you're buying. Just like when you look at vintage Rolex pieces. Don't think that if you're going to buy a 1990s Rolex that you're getting some insanely high quality watch. I can tell you that most $60 Invicta Pro Divers are going to blow that out of the water. I don't mean on par. I mean blow it out of the water. Like, I mean, we're talking holes case. We're talking what they call stretched band. It's not stretched. Metal doesn't stretch. Metal bends, okay? When we talk about stretching, stretching means there's elastic qualities. A band doesn't stretch and come back. A band bends. Like if you're going to bend the band out, if it's going to bend, it bends where it doesn't flex back, okay? That's what I'm trying to get across. I'm not saying that there can't be, like when they see the band bending way over around the wrist. That comes from the tolerances within the pins, the tolerances within each link, okay? That's called bent, if it's not bent, of course. If it's bent, then it's bent. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So just keep that in mind. Any of those vintage pieces, you buy them because you like them. You don't buy them because there's some super high quality watch. Now, if we go ahead and pull the back off an Invicta, pull the back off, you know, your $10,000 Rolex, there are differences. You're going to see there's going to be more attention to detail, of course. There's going to be, you know, you're probably not going to find, well, you're not going to find in most new model Rolexes, you're not going to find, I believe they're called chapter rings, which hold the movement. They're like adapter rings, if I'm saying that correctly. If I'm wrong, just correct me. But there's like a plastic ring, a lot of entry-level, less expensive. I just want to say more affordable watches like Invicta Aragons. There's a plastic ring that adapts the movement, because a lot of these companies are buying movements that are not made for the watch. When a Rolex does a watch like a Submariner, that movement isn't just a movement they make and then they just kind of slap it in the watch, okay? And that's kind of what you have with more affordable watches like Invicta. If you open the back, they're not going to be super impressive, right? It doesn't mean that what's going on there is poor quality. It doesn't mean it's garbage. It just means that that's where a lot of the savings comes from, okay? You know, you have what Invicta does is outsource their movements. And remember when guys say, oh, it's an in-house movement, that's nonsense, okay? What I really like about a brand like Invicta, Aragon, those brands, is they say, you know what, we're going to focus on making the watch, the case, the body of the watch, great quality, and then we're going to outsource to people who know what they're doing. Companies like Ronda, companies like Seiko, companies like ETA, companies like Valjoux. You know, we're going to take those movements and put them in our watches and then set the price accordingly. So they're taking great, reliable, good movements. And remember, your Invicta with the Swiss Ronda, like the Swiss Ronda movement quartz is more accurate than any Rolex made. So just keep that in mind if we're talking accuracy. Just remember that you're not getting some superior watch, okay? And just remember again, when it comes to good quality, good value, you really can't go wrong with the Invicta brand, okay? So getting back, again, let me just log back in here. Getting back to the question, best watch value for money. We want to answer that question, right? So I'm going to give you guys what I consider to be the best value for money. If you haven't guessed it, obviously Invicta is one of them. You want to make sure that if you're going to buy one, and if you're watching this video and you're like, all right, well, I'm sold. Before you buy, just go ahead and drop me a comment, drop me an email. I'm always here to help you guys. Let me see what you're looking at, and I'll give you guys my best judgment on where that quality lands within the brands. Again, some of the entry-level Aragon watches, every company, with the exception of Rolex and the luxury brands, most companies make a really entry-level watch. They know there's a market. Some guys don't want to spend more than 50 bucks for a watch. They're going to make that market. You have guys who want to spend, all right, I don't want to spend more than 300. There's tiers within watches and with anything where people just, it's not worth it for them to spend more, okay? For me, I like to keep it under $300 for any watch. I have watches, again, that are more expensive. They're sponsorship arrangements, but not many that I've purchased because I just know what you get for your money. I know that me spending $1,000 for watch X, I know that getting that watch, I know that I'm getting burned. I know that I'm paying more for markup because I know that the manufacturing of that watch isn't going to be game changing when I compare it to anything else out there. Now there are other things that influence money or dictate money. You know, what's it made out of? Is it precious metal? Of course you're going to pay more for a watch that's made of precious materials. Are there precious stones? You're going to pay more for that stuff. But at least those are items that are real tangible differences. You know, if it has diamonds, we know what diamonds cost, you know. I know there's different levels of the quality of diamonds. Gold, we know what gold costs. So all these things affect the price. But when we're looking at stainless steel, most watches of good quality, if you get a watch made of 316 stainless steel, you're getting a quality of steel that's on par with watches that cost $10,000. Rolex, I know they want it, oh, we got used 904. Remember, 904 isn't harder. It doesn't polish better. It's not more resistant to scratching. There's no difference in 904. The only difference is its corrosion resistance to acidity. Acidics, that's it. That's the only difference. So, like I always joke, unless you're going to be a mermaid and live in the bottom of the ocean, it's meaningless. A lot of the differences you see with luxury brands, they're on paper differences. They're things that you can't see and things that you can't feel. But ultimately, again, buy what ultimately makes you happy. So, getting back again to the question, best watch value for money, by far, in my opinion, is Invicta. I think a real close second to that, or on par, depending on the prices, is Aragon. I think that the Bullet Precisionist is one of the most accurate watches produced, and the quality, again, on par with these other brands, you can get for about $280. Now, these styles may not be your thing if you don't like the big watches, the more masculine, and I don't want to say masculine, I shouldn't say masculine, the more just aggressive, bold timepieces, because there's masculine dudes wearing little tiny watches too. So, you know, I always want to be very careful with overgeneralizing when it comes to people, because there's good and bad with everybody. Everybody comes in different shapes and sizes and colors, and it doesn't dictate. We can't we have to take each watch, each person, you know, on a case-by-case basis, right? But again, getting back to the value with the brands that I have and the different watches I've seen, Seiko, yeah, Seiko's a great watch too. But keep in mind with the Seiko, you're going to pay 3 times what you're going to pay for an Invicta. You're not getting 3 times the quality on par, okay? You're not getting a huge difference in quality, if any, okay? A lot of guys have reviewed these watches side by side and said, yep, the Invicta is better than my Seiko. You know, look at my comments, look at the people who get on the live chats. These live chats I'm doing have been fantastic with letting people who, you know, get on there. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're respectful, if you have a Rolex and you have an Invicta, or you have a Rolex, or you have whatever brands you have, and you really have a difference and you want to tell us about it, you're more than welcome to come to the chat, as long as you're not trying to insult other people or put other brands down. If you're cool, we're cool. And that's what it comes down to. Other brands I think are fantastic. Delta T is a great brand, but you pay a lot more for Delta T. Some of the Delta T watches, you're going to pay about $600 for them, you know, or more. Fantastic watch, on par with Invicta, okay? And remember, guys, if you take one thing from the video, there's a lot of markup in every brand watch. And just because it's more doesn't make it better, okay? Doesn't mean you're going to feel this incredible difference with the watch. And I'm being honest with you when I tell you, if you grab a $10,000 Rolex Submariner, you compare it to an $80 Pro Diver, in some cases $68 Pro Diver, any reserve level Invicta, any of the Aragon watches we're talking about, your Bullet Precisionist, if you compare these watches side by side, you are going to be hard pressed to tell any difference in quality at all, okay? If somebody comes at you with a jeweler's loupe and a list of these different differences and points them out, you might be able to see a difference, maybe. But other than that, you're just not. Real world, real life meaning, real life differences, they just don't have it. They just don't have it. It's like put it into perspective like this, right? If you have a brand new car, right? I always like to use the car analogy. You have a brand new car. every option known to man, right? And it's a little bit different watches because like the watches don't really have any other over-the-top features, right? It's not like, you know, this one has power windows, this one doesn't. You know, most cars nowadays do. But it's like comparing those two cars. Some guys will use the argument that if you go sitting inside of a brand new Mercedes-Benz and then you sit inside of a brand new Kia, that you're going to have this night and day difference. Absolutely bullshit. Completely false. There may be differences cosmetically. You may like the looks of one car different, and maybe you'll feel the leather, and maybe, like when I feel the Jaguar leather, right? My Jag leather compared to my Honda. When I feel the difference, you know, the Jag leather doesn't really feel any different. What's obvious to me with this particular situation is my Honda Accord leather, you know, has worn a little more. But we look at a car that's only 3 years newer, the leather's in great condition. So is it possible that maybe the Jaguar leather is a little bit better? Possibly. But we start looking at other cars I've seen other cars like Mercedes and Jaguars that have bad leather. So was it just really well taken care of, you know? Remember, you're not going to get in one. It's not like comparing. The argument they always have is like you're going to get into that Mercedes and then you're going to get inside of an old 86 Honda with cloth interior and things falling apart, and that's going to be the difference. And that's completely false. A real accurate again, way to measure the quality differences. You're getting inside that brand new Mercedes-Benz, and then you're getting inside the brand new Mercedes-Benz C-Class or CLA class, the entry-level Mercedes, and then you got the high-end S-Class. Either one of those cars, you get into them, you may like the S-Class more. You may appreciate the performance, all these different features with the car, but when you're sitting in it, you're not going to feel like the inexpensive Mercedes is inferior. You're not going to feel like it's a piece of shit. You're going to feel like, all right, this is a different car. It just looks different. You're not going to really see any differences until you start the engine, you know. I mean, yeah, we're looking at that $68 Pro Diver with that Seiko NH35 movement, that brand new Rolex watch. Yeah, that Rolex watch is most likely more, if everything's working correctly, is more accurate than that automatic. If we're comparing what I don't consider apple to oranges, I consider apple to apples. They're both automatic watches. Yeah, that Rolex watch is going to be more accurate, right? If everything's working correctly, right? There's your differences. You know, that Mercedes-Benz is going to be a lot faster. You know, that big V8 engine, a turbo, whatever the engine may have. It's going to be faster, right? Just, I hope you guys kind of understand what I'm saying. They're huge market watches, and you don't have to spend a lot to get a great watch. And for anybody who tells you that Invicta is a piece of shit, or Aragon's a piece of shit, or Bulva sucks, or anything like that is just a fucking liar. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope I've answered some questions. If you guys have any questions for me, don't hesitate to ask. You know, these trolls will never stop, and so we have to defend brands that deserve to be defended. And again, if you guys have a question, you guys want to make a purchase on something, drop me a comment, drop me an email. I'll give you my 2 cents, tell you, you know, a little bit more of a one-on-one personalized level on what I have, what I've experienced, and help you to make the best choice for you. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great evening. Subscribe to the channel, for God's sakes, and take care.